one and all present here. I'm Divya, currently pursuing my undergraduate course in Holy Cross College. It is a great pleasure to welcome such a noble personality as a resource person. On behalf of one and all present here, I humbly welcome Ms. Ashwa Tajiti, a successful English language teacher, Maratha University, Iran. I welcome you, ma'am. I feel honored that I was given this opportunity to welcome you at this international virtual conference on cultural studies. I hope today many students will be able to seek a little guidance from your thoughts. Now, I hand over the session to Ms. Aswata Jisi.
Hi. Hi, thank you very much for invitation. I will start to share my presentation. Are my slides visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Your screen is not visible, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. My
Now
topic is globalization and conceptualization of academic culture, management awareness. The academic culture is the set of shared values, beliefs, and norms that influence the way educators, students, administrators, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in the university. The academic culture can have a positive impact on students' effectiveness. The academic culture is an important issue with regard to student effectiveness in their universities. Finally, many researchers have focused on to study the academic culture concept that provides effectiveness in the universities. This issue is closely connected with educators, and administrators have now recognized that academic culture has a powerful effect on performance and long-term effectiveness of students. The relationship between academic culture and academic achievement was tested through the qualitative design in this article. The article is connected with the management of academic organization, an area strangely neglected in discussion of management. The adaptation, modification by higher education of techniques of academic culture management comes at a time when these issues are being criticized for lack of attention for the academic culture. The purpose of study is to provide a theoretical framework and methodology for the understanding and study of the academic culture. It is based on previous works on organizational culture with emphasis on sociological perspectives and applicable to all types of academic organization. In particular, this article describes the application of socialization, globalization, and sense-making perspectives to the formation and development of academic culture in academic department. It emphasizes on how new faculty members socialize and engage in sense-making as they gain full academic management in their entering department. It also provides a specific methodology to systematically assess potential culture shifts in academic department as incoming faculty interact with faculty in the entering academic unit. Language and culture are closely related and reflect each other. Understanding the relationship between language and culture helps teachers, learners to see different aspects of language, and it is generally accepted that culture plays an important role in language teaching. In the past few decades, the influence of cultural information on language teaching has been the focus of attention. And the Researchers have suggested that language competence and culture are closely dynamically related to each other because the ability to communicate in language requires knowing how to observe, interpret, and act correctly according to culture of language. Bridging the culture notion into classroom context facilitates students' acceptance and understanding of real, authentic cultural context. Increases their cultural awareness, also improves students' language skills, especially for new cultures that have been introduced to them in textbooks. If culture be at the core of language education, then students can communicate to the maximum extent in their language. The cultural points in the textbook as cultural guide before the lessons are important for teachers to cultivate students' cultural awareness, cultural communication ability, and cultural confidence. A view of culture which can provide an ample of opportunities for students to learn about pragmatic aspects of foreign language and develop intercultural understanding. In past previous studies, teachers in many areas believe that the aim of language education is to teach students certain knowledge of words, sentence patterns, grammar, to train their English listening, speaking, reading, writing ability. In daily teaching, the cultivation of students' cross-cultural communication ability, cultural awareness are often not regarded as teaching objectives and contents, which leads to students' poor performance in language application and a gap between the actual learning outcomes and the national curriculum standard training goals. But in recent studies, English teachers do pay enough attention to cultivating students' cultural awareness in English teaching, and even though some English teachers are well aware of the fact that there is continuous interplay between linguistic and cultural elements of foreign language. Therefore, in this study English teaching field, it is necessary for teachers to use the various effective ways to help students understand, learn, and experience the different cultural backgrounds, improve their interest in English language learning, cultivate their cultural awareness and cross-cultural communication ability, and strengthen their cultural confidence. Cultural awareness in classroom is an issue that should be addressed in all classes and recognized by teachers all across the world. The most studies regarding class textbooks support the problem of practice, providing evidence as to why teachers need to be culturally sensitive and awareness of what they are teaching and what information they are providing to their students about history and other cultures' history. Being aware of this as a teacher will be useful in better serving diverse backgrounds of students and providing them with accurate quality education as well as correctly educating them about others' culture without bias. In addition to promoting cultural learning throughout the year, teachers should also seek to hear directly from students, ask students what they think about learning, as well as hear from students what they think will help them succeed. Teachers should learn to respect students in their classroom who may be from different cultures, should be able to reduce stereotypes toward these students and any prejudices and they may have. In a study by Laxman and Lewis, researchers asked minority students to share what they felt they needed from their teachers. Many students shared they needed to be respected, not be judged on appearance, and for teachers to take the time to get to know their students. Knowing their students and where they come from can help teachers include culturally relevant content for their students. Without proper training on multicultural education and the importance of cultural awareness, it is harder for teachers to meet the needs of all their students as they come from different backgrounds and may have different needs as those who are more a part of mainstream culture. In order to aware students from diverse backgrounds, teachers must be trained, educated, equipped to do so in their classrooms. This section includes the theoretical framework of critical cultural theory that relates to the mentioned problem of practice cultural awareness in classroom. In addition to critical culture theory, this section discusses the information the researcher received from the interview with students community who is the university level teacher regarding cultural awareness in classroom. Providing students with fair, equal chances to succeed in the classroom is necessary in order to assist students reach their full potential, and this can begin with recognizing all students' differences and not putting them at disadvantage due to their differences. Their mission is to provide the students with an environment where they all feel safe, comfortable, and represented, and where each of their students has a fair opportunity to succeed no matter where they come from or their backgrounds. After reviewing the research and interview information, the researcher has found that not all teachers are giving training on cultural awareness. Also, some teachers might have more knowledge on the importance of cultural awareness due to previous classes or training given to them throughout their education. Based on the finding, not all teachers are provided with training on cultural awareness in the classroom. There are still challenges both students and teachers are facing. Teachers must get to know their students, get to know where they come from, create classroom that their students feel represented in. This can go from making sure textbooks are accurate and factual, putting up posters that represent diverse groups, and holding up all students to high expectations, no matter their background. As stated in the interview, it is very important to remind students that there may be differences in classroom and that not all students come to class with the same prior knowledge. Educators at times may have to spend time building this prior knowledge with their students before moving into the actual lesson. In addition, bringing things that students can relate to and things that they often see at home can better enhance their learning. Seeing familiar objects from home and using relatable terms and examples in classroom helps students make better connections, allowing them to remember the material better. And final words, acknowledge the differences of cultures, values, expectations in classroom is essential for best quality learning experience for all students. Getting to know the students, their families, and where they come from help teachers to create experience in classroom that students can relate to and be familiar with them. Acknowledging students' different cultures shows them that their teacher is taking interest in them and paying attention. Teaches all students to respect and appreciate each other and each other's differences. Cultural awareness in classroom setting is essential for all students to appreciate each other and get familiar with different cultures in a positive learning experience. But it is also essential for minority students to see themselves being represented and not be made to feel like a minority. A class context that shows diversity and representation for all groups is a context that students and their families feel most comfortable and helps them reach their full potential. And thank you for listening.
Here,
Yeah. Sorry, do you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that was my presentation. And
Thank you, ma'am, for your overwhelming presentation on academic culture. Now, we are about to begin the technical session. Thank you, ma'am.
thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Dear participants, kindly wait. We will move on with the technical section now. Dear participants, kindly wait for some time. Our chairperson will be joining us in a short time. Yeah, they are. I request Dr. Paul Yadav, Associate Professor, to begin her paper presentation.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Please continue on with your presentation.
Yeah, I'm going to share my PPT, ma'am. Just a sec. Ma'am, is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible. You can carry on with your presentation.
Sorry, you can't hear me.
We can hear you, ma'am. You can carry on with your presentation.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. And how much time do I have?
You can take only 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So good afternoon, everyone. Today I
Yes.
am to present on the topic teaching challenges, the skew between art and science of communication skills. So in this presentation, I am trying to ascertain whether business communication is more of a science or more of an art, so that the learning resources can be designed as per that conclusion and variation. I am going to analyze the general premise that while science aspects provides a context and foundation, but operating in it for optimum
Excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me, Parul, ma'am. I need to talk to moderator. Ma'am, our worthy chairperson has joined. After this paper, you can introduce her.
Yes, ma'am. She has not joined yet. So after her presentation,
She
we will introduce
she has joined, ma'am.
She has
Her
joined.
name is Sapurti. Please check. She joined.
I request Priya ma'am on the mic and go on.
Good afternoon, everybody. There is a small change in the schedule since both Dr. Krantipriya and I will be traveling on the days on which we've been given the sessions. We've made this slight swap between ourselves. I am Dr. B. Spurti, Assistant Professor in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences at NIT Warangal, and I will be chairing this session instead of Dr. Krantipriya.
Okay, ma'am.
And we've
Okay,
already communicated this with the coordinator. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Parul, since she's already begun, Dr. Parul Yadav, since you've already begun the presentation, can you please proceed?
Okay, shall I start?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So I was saying in this presentation, I am trying to ascertain whether business communication is more of a science or more of an art, so that the learning resources can be designed as per that conclusion and variation. I am going to analyze the general premise that while science aspects provide context and foundation, but operating in it for optimum results is a skill to be honed and almost reaches the state of art. I shall also discuss the challenges in imparting business communication skills by teachers and managers, where their target audience can vary in compositions, motivations, and background. And briefly, I will also discuss about the challenges and how the challenges can be turned into an opportunity for better communication learning environment. So before starting this, I would like to cite one example. So the date was November 10, 1799, and the place was Paris. And the situation was that Napoleon, he was standing armless and all alone, surrounded by a troop of enemies. And the outcome was the Napoleon declared monarch. How did this happen? Yes, miracles do happen. In this situation, just cited, the cause was effective communication. When Napoleon was caught defenseless by a troop of enemies, he decided to fall back on his effective communication skills and thundered, "Don't you recognize your monarch?" And they did. So, for such a language, only a monarch would have used. Communication, however, is not confined to words, it goes beyond, right into realm of thoughts. It is said that professionals spends 90% of their time in speaking, reading, writing, and listening. Realizing this, practically all colleges and universities have included learning communication skills as a mandatory subject in their curricula. The question, however, arises that is that investment in terms of time and resources achieving the desired aim? Questions are often asked about the right way of learning the subject and whether to adopt structured approach, that is science, or leave it to the ingenuity of the teacher, that is art. So based on this, I have found these objectives of this presentation: to find out art and science of learning communication skills, to understand challenges faced during learning of communication skills, and to create opportunities by managing challenges.
I'm really sorry to interrupt you, but your slides are not moving, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am, from my side, I can see the change in the slide, maybe network issue.
Okay.
What should I do? Please suggest me.
All right. On Google Meet, you need to stop sharing and start sharing again, and then
Okay.
share entire screen, please.
Okay. I'm going to do
Stop
that.
sharing. And start
Sharing.
First, stop sharing. Yeah.
Yes.
Start
Then
share.
I
You will
need
have
to.
options.
Yes.
Share the entire screen and then be on that screen and go on full presentation.
Entire screen, right? Yes, I had shared the entire screen only now.
Okay.
Okay. Anyways, I'm going to share again.
Okay.
Yes.
So you can go to the tab where you have your PPT. You can open your PPT.
Yes, ma'am, it is open.
No, you're still on the Google Meet page, please. You need to go to the PPT, please. Yeah.
Yes. Is it visible now?
Yeah, it is. It is. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So, shall I show you previous slides also, or shall I continue with this one?
Please continue. Please continue. Due to paucity of time, we'll not be able to go back. Please continue.
Okay. Um, okay, so I was saying like these are the objectives. I'm just going for a second back. To find art and science of learning communication skills, to understand challenges faced during learning of communication skills, and to create opportunities by managing challenges. So, learning communication skills, the science component. The science will include a well-designed syllabi based on the desired objectives, sequencing of the syllabus to effect a progressive and seamless learning, an examination scheme that not only leads to fair evaluation but also reinforces the learning process. So when do we call something a science? When input of efforts and resources and their interrelationship can determine to a large extent the expected output. And when we talk of business communication or communication skills, can we determine a particular extent of improvement in the candidate in a given time frame and with a particular amount of resources allocated to her? If yes, then business communication qualifies as a science. So if we run a checklist of input elements for improving communication skills, so these are vocabulary, pronunciation, accent, grammar, tenses, voice modulation, small talk in social situation, presentation style in conferences, structured letter writing for different situation, and the list can go on. So most of these situations can be prepared for by a candidate to a large extent by working on the above elements, say up to 90%. So the science component can be very well imparted by teachers and managers. Now let's see. Okay. What about the art component? While all the elements for improving communication skills can be imparted, and most of it can be retained, understood, and practiced by the candidates, the time a candidate spends in comprehending and organically evolving to such higher understanding, besides some intrinsic qualities present in her in terms of intelligence and motivation to excel, will determine the quality of skills achieved over a period of time. However, now the $1,000,000 question is: can the science components can be taught, and can the art components be taught or at least facilitated? Yes, but before that, there are certain challenges which are faced by teachers of communication skills, and they need to be sorted out. So these are the challenges. Heterogeneous class composition. So most of the CS class sections are formed out of the students from different courses to achieve the usually laid down class strength of 60. At times, the composition mismatch makes learning very complex, as examples suitable for one stream may not be understood by students studying a totally different course. So there are large scale variation in terms of background, rural or urban, or the schooling, maybe from English medium or Hindi medium, and so on. So the learning of CS by its nature needs an interactive and peer-based learning approach, requiring a measured approach from the facilitator at every step of learning. Second is student ratio. A class or section strength of 60, as is often the case, amounts to a teacher-student ratio of 1:60. That is not a healthy situation for a subject like communication skills, where we need to interact. Meaningful interaction is required. That is the core of CS learning. Then the time constraints. 1 hour per week is usually is allotted time for CS classes. So in an 18-week semester, this leaves about 15 hours, discounting for holidays and other events. This leaves little time for activities like debate and quiz competitions, which should otherwise form an integral part of CS learning. Student motivation. In addition to the time constraints wherein the student-teacher interaction takes place, only once a week, the teacher belonging to a different school or department is initially perceived as an outsider. With only 1 credit at stake, the impact of performance in CS on the overall grading is minimal. So the teacher therefore has to be on the lookout for other motivators. So it is a common sight to see a CS faculty walking from one classroom of engineering students to management and then to the students of media or fashion designing. However, the students do look forward to their CS faculty for guidance before and after the interview. Facing managing these challenges, or facing the challenges and creating opportunities out of that. So most of the challenges discussed in the previous slide can not only be managed but also converted into opportunities if handled skillfully. The only requirement being that CS faculty should be on lookout for appropriate solutions of the problems. There comes the art of learning communication skills. So the first one is begin with the end in mind. In the highly acclaimed book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is written by Stephen Covey, the author illustrates that everything is created twice. meaning that mental creation precedes physical creation. To begin with the end in mind means to start with a clear understanding of your destination. So mission statement should be written at the beginning of a course that provides a direction at every stage. For example, the mission statement for the MBA students of batch 2017-19 batches reads like to be corporate ready by December 31, 2018. So the interpretation of corporate readiness is that the students are expected to be fully prepared for the interview by this time and ready to join in case the offer comes. And next is heterogeneous composition. A well thought of mix is an asset rather than a liability. For example, a section comprising of MBA, Banking and Finance, MA Economics, and MCOM will provide the kind of peer learning unimaginable in a pure section. Similarly, students of marketing combined with international business can learn from each other. As regards students of different levels of communication skills, through small groups, activities, or a buddy system, the weak students can be brought up. Then teacher-student ratio. Big number definitely deter interactive sessions as activities are hard to manage. However, the revolutionary development in IT offer a number of opportunities, and a part of learning can take place through technology. Blended learning is one such example that combines online digital media with the traditional classroom methods. So we can use them. Time constraints. 1 hour per week for CS class, as is the norm, does not permit covering everything in the class teacher would want to. So first step would be to prioritize at every level. In the 7 habits, the author recommends boulders first approach rather than pebbles or sand, wherein the boulders has been used as a metaphor to express more important things. This also corresponds to 80-20 rule. 80% of the results come out from the 20% of the activities. So in CS, focusing on those 20% areas will yield greater dividends. For example, email writing. It's a common experience that drafting a good subject line is the key to effectiveness. Then student motivation. Case study method can be used it is found to be effective in generating interest, but keeping in mind the time constraints, one can try to achieve the same result through even a human story. Continuous evaluation of the students is another good motivator, and it's a good practice to evaluate students at the beginning of the course and regularly monitor their progress towards the mission as discussed earlier. So teacher expertise. Although it is not practical for a faculty to have the domain knowledge of each and every subject, yet he or she should try to acquire a basic understanding of the related competencies. The HOD or coordinator allocating the classes should keep in mind the interest of the concerned faculty and should endeavor to provide an opportunity for stable relationship by keeping rotation to the bare minimum. Then be patient. This is very important. So there is a Chinese bamboo tree, example of Chinese bamboo tree. So after the seed for this amazing tree is planted, you see nothing for 4 years except for a tiny shoot coming out of a bulb. During those 4 years, all the growth is underground. But then in the 5th year, the Chinese bamboo tree grows up to 80 feet. Attaining the desired level of employability skills is like the Chinese bamboo tree. You work and you invest time and effort. Sometimes you don't see improvement in some students, but if you are patient and keep working on improving listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills of students, the synergy would work and that 5th year will come. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that once these issues are addressed under a structured teaching program, most of the candidates and learners can cross a certain desired level of skills while also throwing up certain geniuses who really up the ante and wow the world with their art form status communication skills. So thank you very much. This was all from my side.
Thank you, Dr. Parul Yadav, for a detailed presentation. Can I ask the moderators as to how long each of the presenters would be getting? Do we have the moderator on call? Okay, no problem. Do we have any questions for Dr. Parul Yadav?
It's 10 minutes.
Okay.
Excuse me.
All right, ma'am. Great. Do we have any questions for Dr. Parul Yadav from the audience? Okay, Dr. Parul, I have a question for you. Now, the purpose of business communication is different from general communication, right? The purpose of business communication is more of perseverance and negotiation and others. So, how do you think the recommendations that you've made would be common for both? Because irrespective of the level they are at in their college, the purpose is entirely different. Therefore, the objective is going to be different for each of the courses that are offered.
Yes, ma'am. So that is why the solutions which I have given, where first I have discussed about the challenges which we face, like due to maybe the teacher-student ratio is there, student motivation level is different, or heterogeneous class composition. So there are different challenges, but the solution which I have given, that one is begin with the end in mind, like you should have a motivation level. So for example, like you're saying, for business communication, negotiation skills are important or presentation skills are important. So when we are saying, like I said, like there should be a mission statement given to that particular course student. So what is that mission statement for them? If they have to be job ready, so they know that not only they need to clear the interview, but also they will have to give, they should, they will have to clear group discussions also, they will have to give presentations also. So this is the part of that particular course. So they will have to work on honing all these skills. So they have suppose they have 3 years, for 5 semesters they will be working on honing all those skills while they will be having their target clear. So this way it will help. And also like we can see when the students they are from different groups, they can learn from each other, so that really gives a very good environment. They all are from different backgrounds and their views will be different, so that will really help them to hone their skills. Anything else, ma'am?
Thank you very much for answering the question. I do not have any questions. I think the audience also do not have any questions. I ask again, do you have any questions, audience, for Dr. Parul Yadav? Okay. I'll take that silence for a no. Can we now move on to the next presentation, please? Is the next presenter available?
Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes, Dr. Parul, you can please go on mute. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Sunit, you can please share your screen. Dr. Suniti Sood is an associate professor at the Amity Institute of Design, Amity University, Haryana. And the title of her paper is Impact of Cultural and Social Identity on Clothing.
So, is my screen visible, ma'am?
Not yet.
So I'm trying to Is it visible?
No, I don't think. No, it's not shared yet, ma'am. I mean, have you shared the screen already? Because we don't see that it is shared yet.
I think, ma'am, I'm having some network issues right there. I'm trying to share.
Okay. What is the challenge? I mean, are you getting an error message or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, what is the error message?
So I'm just trying to share present now, and I get my your entire screen, a window, a tab.
You need to click on entire screen.
Yeah, I'm doing that.
And what is it saying?
And then the share option is not there. It's just cancel. So I'm not able to do that.
Would
Okay,
you
wait.
begin talking and then talk?
Can I see that?
Not yet. Yeah, now it is. Yes.
Huh? Okay, ma'am.
Great. Over to you.
Is it fine now?
Absolutely fine. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So my topic is on impact of cultural and social identity on clothing. So the aim of the article is to focus on matters of clothing which act as a symbol of cultural and social identity. So when we say this, fashion portrays our individual culture. It is our self-expression, a non-verbal form of communication. Every country has unique characteristics that are portrayed through clothing and their customs, language, and folklore. So culture plays an important role in deciding the fashion of a particular region, or vice versa. We can also say that fashion may impact the culture of a region to a certain extent, but mostly it is the other way round. So when we say clothing is inseparable from humans and are important as one of the basic needs, an individual's dress style is influenced by many things such as culture, values inherited by community groups, as well as family, environment, media, fashion trends, and personal characteristics. All these factors influence how to dress and shape our preferences. With the evolution of fashion, everyone starting from children to adults are concerned about wearing the latest in trend. Clothing is now a basic need for humans besides food and shelter. It is needed to protect the body. Clothing is everything from head to toe that gives the wearer comfort and is not limited to the fabric that is worn by someone, but design creations that are deliberately chosen after adjusting one's circumstances. Coming to identity and symbol, in a general perspective, cultural values are expressed using symbols. It is necessary to see symbolic and cultural relations. Culture itself consists of ideas, symbols, and values as the work of human behavior. One of the most famous definitions in modern time was given by Whitehead in his book Symbolism. He said that human mind functions symbolically if several components of its experience arouse awareness, trust, feelings, and images of other components of its experiences. Burke said that determining cultural identity is highly dependent on language, as language representations explain all the facts of all identities detailed when compared. Therefore, it can be concluded that if we talk about identity, we only talk about certain characteristics, and those characteristics are indicators for getting to know other groups so that it is easier for us to communicate with them. Conversely, if we talk about cultural pattern, what we emphasize is how an identity is formed from certain views and ideas that in turn guide them. So that identity is static and cultural patterns are living things. Symbol can lead to an object, an event, or someone in the world that is limited by the five senses, or can point to another world and to the content imagined. The symbolic forms of include body and food, soil, clothing, light, darkness, fire, and blood, water, and sacrifice. In this section, we will be more focused on the body as a symbol. To arrive at the body as a symbol, it is necessary to know the basic understandings of the body. Then clothing as a symbol of culture, or we can say fashion as self-imaging. The process of modernization can hardly be limited in scope and problem from social, economic, cultural, and so on. Clothes no longer only function as protectors, but also to show the social status in society. If you look at the tradition and customs of different regions, you can also know that clothing and its use is growing, and that is, there is clothing that is used for everyday activities and clothing that is worn on certain events. How we dress up and our physical appearance is often the basis for the first impressions, which are relatively long lasting. Sometimes we dress to impress others, to be more like them, or if we wear clothes that are contrary to the norms held by a group of people to express our rejection of their values. Clothing is a part of unity that cannot be separated from social life. In the personal dimension, clothing becomes a medium to explore expressions and ideas. Through the social cultural dimension, clothing is used as a medium of communication and promotion and even the formation of ideology. Of course, it is not immediately the clothes in question as a source of complexity. There are media roles, advertisements, industry creators, communities, users and creators, as well as social institutions, government and its tool that shape the turn of clothing into products that regulate its users. Changes in how to dress, a cultural phenomenon. The ability of humans to develop equipment and how to control technology is possible because of the symbolic power that is not possessed by other creatures. By using symbols that are given meaning, humans can convey their thoughts and knowledge. Clothing is one of the cultural expressions. Apart from functioning as protective clothing, it is also a form of communication. And clothing can be used to display economic status, education, social status, moral status, athletic ability, funds, interest, belief systems, etc. The development of fashion is increasingly rapid, and the rotating fashion cycle alternates. The fashion mode received by the public will become a fashion trend, while the mode that is not accepted will be ignored. Technological developments that are increasingly globalized make fashion styles grow rapidly, so that the mode that is popular in other countries can be immediately adapted also by the people through modernization in the field of technology. Traditional communities tend to be more difficult to accept foreign culture that enter their environment, but there are also people who easily accept foreign cultures in their lives. This is due to the element of foreign culture that usually brings great convenience and benefit to their life, or elements of culture that easily adjust to the state of the people who receive these elements. So, what to wear? Explaining one's identity is closely related to the culture and customs in which a person lives and interacts in life. Clothing as a cultural diversity should be considered. Clothing is an expression, image, and personality of a culture because from clothing can be reflected the norms and cultural values of a nation. Clothing tends to be inseparable from the culture of society because it is influenced by habits, customs that exist in the society. The different clothing between one region and another, due to human culture in each region, tends to be different, which is influenced by the surrounding environment. The difference in clothing in each region is because each region has customs, habits, ways of life that can be different from one another and different socio-cultural environments. So in conclusion, in relation to dress, it can be interpreted that dress ethics is a science that considers how a person can take an attitude in dress about the model, color, pattern, or motive which is appropriate in accordance to the accordance with the opportunities, conditions, and time and norms that apply in the community. Dressing aesthetics can be interpreted as a field of knowledge that discusses how to dress in harmony with one's body, shape, and personality. Dressing beautifully and in harmony that applies aesthetic values means you must be able to choose the model, color, style, texture which suits the user. Clothing has a variety of explicit and implicit meanings. Clothing is a form of imitation of one's social body so that the limitations of each person's personal comfort are different. A piece of clothing can describe the structure of social life, ideology, history, class, community, and identity. The ideology of religion in clothing regarding moral and ethical issues is a rule or law regarding how to dress according to the conditions of space, place, and time, which need to be understood and implemented. Supposedly, the freedom in creating clothes, not forgetting the relationship of clothing with the surrounding social environment, because clothing as a necessity is included in the public domain so that social welfare is still needed. In the end, clothing is still a part of inanimate object, social construction in it, which makes clothing a product that has a lot of meaning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kirti. Do we have any questions from the audience? Thank you. Okay, I see that we do not have any questions from the audience. Can we move on to the next presenter, please? Dr. Suniti, thank you very much for a
Thank you
great
so much.
presentation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Do we have the next presenter here?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. I think it's Dr. Rajeshwari. Sure. Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible,
Yeah, good
and I
afternoon,
see
ma'am.
that Dr. Rajeshwari is Associate Professor in Shamlal College, DU, India, and her paper is on Buddhism teachings, practices, rituals, and festivals.
Yeah, ma'am.
Over to you, ma'am. You can now share the screen.
Thank you, ma'am. No, ma'am, I will not share screen.
Oh, you don't have a presentation to make. Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone. As ma'am told, I'm Dr. Rajeshwari from Shamlal College, Delhi University, and my topic is Buddhism teachings, practices, rituals, and festivals. Buddhism is an Indian religion or philosophical tradition based on teachings attributed to the Buddha. And Buddhism originated in northern India as Shamana movement in 5th century BCE, and in the course of time disseminated throughout much of Asia via the Silk Road. It is the world's fourth largest religion with over 520 million followers, which comprises 7% of the global population. Two major branches of Buddhism are Theravada, or School of the Elders, and Mahayana, or Great Vehicle. Theravada branch has a huge following in Sri Lanka as well as in Southeast Asia, namely Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, and Cambodia. The Mahayana branch, which incorporates the tradition of Zen, Pure Land, Nichiren, Tiantai, Tendai, and Shingon, is predominantly practiced in Nepal, Bhutan, China, Malaysia, Vietnam, Taiwan, Korea, and Japan. Buddhism and its tenets have been extolled for its virtues by many great leaders, as Buddhism does not include the idea of worshipping a creator God. Some people do not see it as religion in the normal Western sense. The basic tenets of Buddhist teachings are straightforward and practical, as nothing is fixed or permanent, actions have consequences, change is possible. So, Buddhism addresses itself to all people irrespective of race, nationality, caste, sexuality, or gender. It teach practical methods which enables people to realize and use its teachings in order to transform their experience to be fully responsible for their lives. There are many ethical teachings in Buddhism which govern Buddhist conduct. These teachings play a significant role in Buddhist life. It tells how to change the behavior in a positive direction and tells them to change their future through their actions in the present. Some teachings are important part of Buddhism, like first is karma. Buddhism gives emphasis upon karma as it considers that actions of present will impact the happiness of future. This principle encourages Buddhists to be generous, kind, and compassionate towards others. And as it affects a Buddhist rebirth, so they try to make right actions in order to break the cycle of samsara and be reborn to a higher realm. The belief is known as Eightfold Path, which are right view, right resolve, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi. Next is compassion, which means karuna. Being compassionate is part of Buddhism to walk on a spiritual path. A Buddhist attempts to be compassionate to everyone who is suffering in this earthly world. Buddhism believes that there is suffering in the world, and Karuna teaches that Buddhists should be careful of others' suffering and try to overcome his own sufferings too. Next is metta. Metta means loving kindness. Buddhists show loving kindness to others and themselves too without expecting anything in return. For a Buddhist, it is very important to keep this selfless love as it helps them to overcome three types of poison, which are ignorance, greed, and hatred. The five moral precepts are apart from karma, compassion, and metta. Buddhism believes in five moral precepts are the five principles that Buddhists follow in order to live ethically and morally good lives. They also help Buddhists to overcome three poisons which I mentioned above: ignorance, greed, and hatred. The five moral precepts are: a Buddhist should refrain from taking the life of any living creature. Next is he should refrain from taking anything which is not given to him. It means a Buddhist should not do theft. He should refrain from the misuse of sexual or senses misconduct. It is overindulging in sex or committing sexual offenses. He should refrain from wrong speech. It is lying or gossiping. He should refrain from intoxicants that cloud the mind, which is drug or alcohol. Buddhists do not believe in any deity, so the five precepts are guiding forces of living rather than commanded given by a god. Buddhism believes in six types of perfection, which are important because they allow them to follow the path of Buddha's Dhamma or Dharma. This allows them to reach enlightenment, which is what all Buddhists attempt to achieve in their lifetime. The six perfections give guidelines as a structure for how to live a good life and behave in a good way. Examples of morally good behavior include being generous and charitable, putting other people before yourself, always telling the truth, and being mindful of others' feelings. These six perfections are: generosity, means dan, is the first perfection. It means a sincere and selfless desire to give to others with no expectations. Second is morality or sila. It means to follow the five precepts. Next is patience or santi, is the third perfection. That means
Ma'am, you can sum it up, please. We are sure.
yes, just 2 minutes. Yes, yes, it will take only 2 minutes. Next is energy, and fifth is meditation, and last is wisdom, which means prajna. In Buddhism, Buddhist festivals are to mark a particular event in the calendar. For instance, when Buddha gained enlightenment or when he abandoned his body means parinirvana. So there are some important uh, festivals in Buddhism. One is Parinirvan Divas. Second is Vasak or Buddha Day, which comes on full moon in May. Third is Dharma Day. And fourth is Sangha Festival. There is a festival shrine in Buddhism, which is Rupa. And it means that in Rupa, Buddha figure is worshipped that reminds us of Buddha's enlightenment. In the backdrop of Rupa, present Thangaka, a beautiful painting of Buddha or Bodhisattva figure. Although there are many things about Rupa, but we are running out of time. So, for conclusion, I will, these are the points which we use in a festival shrine. This like water for washing, water for drinking, food hard and soft, clean clothes in which piece of cloth in use, flowers, candles, and incense. So this was something I shared in a capsule. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you. Ma'am, you are mute. You are on mute, ma'am.
Great. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that presentation. Do we have any questions for the presenter? Do we have any questions from the audience for the presenter on Buddhism and the teachings and practices and rituals and festivals that she shared with us? All right. I take that silence for a no. Thank you very much for a very, enriching presentation, for a lack of a better word. Thank you very much, ma'am. Now we'll move on to the next presenter. Do we have Dr. S.R. Chatra on the call?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So Dr. S.R. Chatra is Associate Professor, Department of English, Maharaja's College, Mysuru, Karnataka. And her paper is on representation of patriarchal culture in Khushwant Singh, Train to Pakistan. You can now share your screen.
Thank you, ma'am. My paper is a representation of patriarchal culture in Khushwant Singh's Train to Pakistan. Khushwant Singh's Train to Pakistan is a classic of modern Indian fiction that highlights the trauma and brutality that occurred during the historical context of Indian independence. The novel concentrates on the ethnoscape during and aftermath of India's independence from the colonial imperialism. Though the novel highlights multiple themes, such as the theme of political and religious disharmony leading to communal warfare, intermingled with conflicts leading to the sufferings of the innocent victims, the theme of partition during the proposed division of the country into Hindu India and Muslim Pakistan, and its aftermath, the present paper concentrates on the gender hegemony of masculinity that constructs the action and life of the female in the sociological construction of gender, which in turn represents the national culture. As representation is a process of signification where feminine is in contrast to the masculine in the power structure of Indian cultural society, where societal identity, that is, socially produced, constitutes the socially empowered male to occupy dominant positions and subsequently construct, marginalize, naturalize, and legitimize gender roles of female as the other. Hence, the present paper intensively investigates the identity projections due to the hegemonic ideologies from a feminist perspective, where women are helpless, hopeless, and voiceless in the patriarchal culture that rules the Indian colonial and post-colonial world, and thereby suffer subjugation in all spheres of life. Even during the time when the chaos of partition had still not affected the tiny village of Manumajro, situated at the border of India and Pakistan,
During the month of August, a group of 5 dacoits attack and loot the only Hindu family of that small village. And that family belongs to the moneylender. And while these dacoits are going to loot, they talk very lightly of women folk, especially Noora, with whom Jagga, another man who is in love. They carry bangles and say that they have a dozen of red and blue glass. They would please any village wench. They further erotically speak about her large gazelle eyes and the little mango breasts. They further continue saying, "Did you see her at the spring fair? Did you see that tight shirt showing off her breasts and bells tinkling her plaits and swish, swish of silk?
Hey, and the narrator mentions that one of them suddenly sat erect. When the dacoits use the weapons and they reach Lalaji's house, his mother and wife are scared. Though the mother begs them to spare, telling that their son is not at home, the dacoits grab her surrendered gold, and even when the elderly lady falls to their feet, the gunman kicks her. And they find her son Ramlal hiding upstairs and brutally assault him and finally kill him. Though the ladies shriekingly cry, "Daku, Daku," no person comes to their help. The dacoits, in defiance, yell at the people, come out if you have the courage. Come out if you want your mothers and sisters raped. Come out, brave men. And on their way back, they throw bangles at the house of Jagga, shouting that he should give them to the weaver's daughter, smacking their lips and making sound of long, lecherous kisses. On the other hand, Jagga is with Noora. He becomes lustful in his approach towards her, and she makes defenseless approaches, and he makes love to her, though she wriggles, saying, "No, no, no, please," and protests. Her protests are in vain against the strong body of Jagga. But the love of Jagga turns to extreme neglect as they both see the dacoits and then depart. Jagga's mother is a lady who has suffered very much in life. Though she has her only son in her life, even Jagga doesn't respect her. In spite of her love, care, requests, and even wailing, Jagga disregards her. Hence, she says, "If you want to hang like your father, go and hang. It's my lot to weep, my kismet. It is all written there." As a mother, she tries her best to save her son from the arrest of police. She shows the bangles thrown by the dacoits, and she is in turn abused by her son, and who says, by her son, who says, "What the seducer of his mother can throw bangles at me?" And she requests the policeman to spare her son, but without a trace of emotion to his mother, who was wailing and beating her forehead and breast, the son moves away to jail. And Jagga's attitudes regarding women can also be shown in his speech. When the policeman hilariously asks, "Oh, you are back again. Do you think it's your father in law's house at the police station?" He answers, saying, "Yes, it is. The number of policemen's daughters I have seduced." And even when Jagga sees the dacoit Malli, who is arrested and later left, and while leaving, Malli mocks Jagga about the weaver's daughter, Jagga snatches him, and at every jerk he abuses as, I quote, "This is to rape your mother, and this to your sister, this to your daughter, and this for your mother again, and this, and so on." So hence women and their bodies are not just are just used by men. The incident where Sundari is married and on her way to her husband's house she is raped by many men stands as an instance of how women and their bodies are targeted. During the aftermath of partition, men, in order to seek revenge due to the communal clashes, target women and openly proclaim that they would rape their opponents' mothers and sisters. And they even go to the extent of saying that if they rape one woman of our community, we shall rape two of their community. Even Hukum Chand's vision towards women is no different. On a certain occasion, he praises women, especially the Hindu women, who are ready to sacrifice their lives and protection for their chastity. He calls a party of two musicians, one
one old woman and one young girl to entertain him. He drinks and asks the girl to sing. He throws money towards the musicians and then asks the girl to come and collect the money from his hand. When the girl comes to collect the money, he puts the note on his heart and then he grins. He puts his arm round her waist and allows the musician and the old woman to leave. Though on many occasions he feels that the girl is of the age of his daughter, he doesn't stop himself when he gets an opportunity to touch her and play with her body. Hasina is this young girl, and her grandmother is also a helpless woman who, on getting any chance, praises Hukum Chand as the government. She too is subjugated by society and uses her granddaughter to please the man who occupies a very high position in the society. So, though Train to Pakistan is a
Dr.
fictional
Chaitra, would you
representation of
mind?
the. I'm just
I'm sorry to
concluding, ma'am.
interrupt you, Dr. Chaitra. Yeah, please. Thank you.
I'm just concluding, ma'am. Though Train to Pakistan is a fictional representation of the reality of partition, the hegemonic patriarchal culture in India, where young women are erotically viewed and elder women are treated with no respect. Yet Kushwant Singh makes his innocent female characters make a strong impact on the minds of the dominant male, such as Jagat Singh and Hukum Chand, who provoke, and the young innocent women provoke them to take significant and crucial decisions that prompt to the conclusion of the novel. Hukum Chand's inclination towards Hasina compels him to exonerate and liberate Iqbal and Jagat Singh, and Noura's love for Jagat Singh stimulates even a badmash like Jagga to sacrifice his life for the safety of Noura, which is in turn the safety of all Muslims of Manomanjra, to depart safely from India to Pakistan. Although the sacrifice of Jagga is worth remembering, the future lives of Noura and his lonely mother are not given any value in the novel, thereby making the decision of men, that is the voice of the dominant patriarchal rule, to prevail. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chaitra.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have any questions for Dr. Chaitra from the audience? I repeat, do we have any questions from the audience for Dr. Chaitra's presentation on representation of patriarchal culture in Kushwant Singh Train to Pakistan? All right, I take that silence for a no. Thank you very much, Dr. Chaitra, for that presentation and introducing another book to the audience. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome, ma'am.
All right, so to sum the session up, in today's session, we had 4 presenters from different genres and areas, I would say. Dr. Parul Yadav spoke on business communication and how it could either be considered as art or science in developing the communication skills of the students. And the second presenter, Dr. Suniti Sood, spoke on the cultural influences on clothing in India and the society. And the third paper presenter was Dr. Rajeshwari, who's spoken about Buddhism and the various practices and cultures and festivals. And the fourth presentation rightly summed up the state of women back then when Dr. Khushwant Singh wrote Train to Pakistan. And she spoke about the hegemony and patriarchal dominance in the society then, and probably made references to the society now as well. So that sums up the technical session 2. Do we have the moderator on the call?
No.
Do we have any additional presentations? Is that it?
No, ma'am. We will move on to technical session 3.
Great, thank you very much. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank the organizers of the International Virtual Conference on Cultural Studies and the Institute, the Holy Cross College, Autonomous College. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all the organizers and the presenters.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Have a good day. Thank you. So I announce the technical session closed now. Technical session 2 closed.